Foldable phones crack in ways regular phones never do. And the wrong car mount can hinge stress your Z Fold 8 Ultra every single pothole. Before you clip yours into just any mount, see which ones actually protect the fold. We're starting with the mount that's really just a phone clip wearing a Fits Foldables label. The OATSBASF rotatable vent mount uses a spiral telescopic latch instead of the cheap straight pin clip you'll find on bargain mounts, and it bites onto the vent blade instead of just resting against it. The body is carbon alloy rather than the hollow plastic most vent clips use, so the arm doesn't flex when the phone's weight pulls on it over time. It's also listed across a genuinely wide range, Z Fold 7 down through Z Fold 2, the S22 Ultra series, and a stack of iPhones and iPads, so it was clearly built as a one-size-fits-most clip, rather than something purpose-engineered for a hinge. For daily commuting where you're mostly just glancing at maps, that broad compatibility actually works in your favor, since it means the clip's opening range has real margin instead of being sized right at the edge of your phone's thickness. And that's exactly the catch. Nothing in the listing calls out thick case clearance, which matters a lot here. The folded Z Fold 8 Ultra is already 8.9 millimeters at the spine before you add a case, so if you're running any kind of protective folio case, you're asking a generic clip to swallow bulk it was never sized around. There's also no mention of how the arm sits when the phone's in landscape for navigation, so keep an eye on whether it crowds the charging port or your USB-C cable when you're topping up on a long drive. Worth a look if gravity-style one-hand loading is what you're after, and it's genuinely more convenient in daily use than fumbling a manual clip. But it's still a step below the mounts built specifically around a fold shape, which is where the rest of this list is headed. The Lamicall vent holder is one of the most reviewed car mounts on Amazon, and for a normal phone, it earns that reputation. 2 vent clips on the back instead of 1, rubber padding so it doesn't scratch your phone or your vent, one-handed insertion that snaps shut in about a second. It's a genuinely well-built basic mount, and if you've used one on a regular iPhone or Galaxy S phone before, you already know it holds a slab phone rock steady. But read the compatibility line closely. Lamicall's listing covers roughly 4.7 to 6.7 inch phones. That's sized for slab phones like the iPhone or Galaxy S line, not a folded Z Fold with its hinge ridge and extra thickness at the spine. There's no thick case allowance, no fold-specific clearance, nothing in the listing that even mentions foldables. Grip-wise, this is also a smaller, lighter-duty spring clamp than the gravity and telescopic latch mounts around it, which means less clamping force available to manage a heavier folded device bouncing over rough roads. If you already own this mount from a previous phone, it might physically squeeze a bare Z Fold 8 Ultra shut. Well enough for a short trip, but I wouldn't buy it new for this specific phone. It shows up here because it's a common people also bought suggestion under Z Fold searches, not because Lamicall actually built it with a fold in mind. Now we get into the mounts that were engineered with a fold's dimensions in mind, and the difference shows immediately. The xuenair mount runs what it calls 2 forms. A normal clamp mode that handles regular phones from about 4.2 to 6.9 inches, and an extension mode you manually pull out to accommodate devices up to 8 inches, which is right where a folded Z Fold or an iPad mini lands. That's a meaningfully different engineering approach than the clips we just covered. It's not stretching a slab phone clamp to its limit and hoping. It's built with 2 distinct size classes from the start, with a reinforced spring specifically for the extension mode. xuenair also explicitly lists thick case compatibility on this SKU, and the listing calls out that it won't block the charging port whether the phone's mounted vertically or horizontally, which solves the exact problem the first 2 mounts left unanswered. If the fit's right, this is a strong mid-pack pick. Real engineering thought went into the 2-mode design. It just needs you to confirm you're getting the case-friendly version and not its stricter cousin before you check out. This next one solves the exact port blocking question we've been raising all video. DICMKY's long arm mount ditches the compact vent clip entirely for a hook-style clip that forms a triangle with a baffle plate against the vent blades, which the listing says grips more securely than a straight clip and won't slip loose over speed bumps or gravel roads. It's rated for devices from 4 inches all the way up to 12.9 inches. That's iPad Pro territory, so a folded or unfolded Z Fold sits comfortably inside its working range instead of right at the edge of it. The three contact points are cushioned in anti-vibration foam and rubber rather than bare plastic, which matters more than usual when you're cradling a phone with a seam running down the middle of its back. Here's the honest limitation. This exact DICMKY listing's compatibility text calls out Z Fold 5, 4, and 3 specifically. It doesn't mention Z Fold 7 the way DICMKY's other long-arm SK-US do, even though the physical hardware in the photos looks identical to versions that do list it. That's most likely just an outdated product description rather than an actual hardware difference. But I can't confirm that without DICMKY updating the listing text itself. So treat it as a probably fine, verify before you buy situation, rather than a certainty you can rely on blind. For anyone who wants a mount that treats the unfolded Z Fold like the mini tablet it actually is for navigation, rather than just clamping it shut, this is the one built for that specific job. The Spigen OneTap is genuinely excellent engineering. Tap the phone in, squeeze 2 tabs to release it. A hook clip that Spigen rates for vent blades with at least a 7.5mm gap and no thinner than 4.5mm. The tap-to-mount mechanism is faster and smoother than any gravity clamp or vent clip on this list. And if this were a video about the Z Fold 3 or Z Fold 4, it would win outright without much competition. But Spigen's own listing states this exact model is designed only for the Galaxy Fold 3 and Fold 4. Not the Fold 5, 6, 7, or the 8. Ultra we're talking about today. Those older folds have noticeably different folded dimensions than your 158.4 by 72.8 by 8.9mm Fold 8 Ultra. And this mount uses precision-fitted tabs sized to that older, smaller body. Not a universal clamp like every other pick on this list. One Amazon reviewer on this exact listing even noted their case needed trimming just to fit a Fold 3 or 4 correctly. A mount this tightly sized doesn't forgive dimensional differences, and a newer, larger Fold is exactly that kind of difference. So here's how this actually breaks down. For daily driving with a folded or unfolded Z Fold 8 Ultra, the xuenair mount is your strongest verified match once you confirm you've got the case-friendly SKU, since it's the only pick here built with 2 distinct size modes instead of stretching a single clamp to its limit. If you want a mount that treats the unfolded fold like the mini tablet it is for navigation, DICMKY's long arm design is built for exactly that range. The 2 OATSBASF picks are fine as budget backups, not primary mounts. And whatever you do, don't grab the Spigen unless you're actually still on a Fold 3 or 4 desking. Check your model before you check out. Links to every mount are below in the order we covered them. Let me know in the comments which one you went with.